Hello, I'm Maureen, Museum Education Manager at Museum of the Earth, and I want to talk to you about the Barbara Page's Rock of Ages Sands of Time exhibit that we have here at the museum. If you get a chance, please come and see this exhibit. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's 544 tiles that represent 1,000,000 years in the Earth's history, and it follows fossils through that time. They're 3D fossils, and they represent the diversity and change of complex life through that time. So 544 million years is a long time, but life on Earth's been here a lot longer. And when you come into the museum, the first exhibit pretty much is this beautiful exhibit, and it has many, many different tiles, and it goes along as a story. And Barbara Page came several years ago and helped us to learn how to make the tiles as she did. She did such an absolutely beautiful job, but it turns out that they're really not difficult to make. And so we wanted to have an activity that helped you walk through how to make these amazing 3D tiles.
Hello everyone, my name's Maria and I'll be your artist for today. You may be thinking, this doesn't look like those tiles. And you're right. We want to use a photo of a fossil on our tile, this photo of this fossil. And if we start off by doing a little preparation, it'll be a lot easier in the long run. I'm using a program called Meaty Bang Paint to put a grid on top of my photo. You can use many similar types of programs like GIMP or Photoshop, but I'm using this one since I use it a lot for myself. First, we want to crop out the part of the photo that we want to use. I'm using the canvas size function under Edit to make the digital canvas the same size and shape as the physical one. Here is just making width and height equal since it's a square. If you're using the same program as me, make sure to deselect the Delete Area Outside of Canvas button. Next, I'm using the Transform tool under Select to move and resize the photo so it's just about where I want it to be on my final tile. Once you're satisfied with where it is, you have a couple options. You can print it out and use a technique I'm going to show you later to draw a grid on it, or you can go Google yourself up a picture of a grid. Pick one with a white background and copy and paste it on your photo. I'm using the Transform tool again to resize the graph so it's the size of our real-life canvas. The tile I'm eventually going to use is 6 by 6, so I want to make sure that this graph that I have has 6 blocks on both the side and the bottom. When I finally have it just where I want it, I'm going to go over to the Layer panel here, to the Blending drop-down menu, and I'm going to select Multiply. And ta-da! The white parts of the graph become transparent, and you can see your photo with the grid on top. Alright, now let's get into the hands-on stuff, starting with the support. Like Barbara Page, we're going to be using a hard masonite tile, brand name Hardboard. You can also use sturdy cardboard or a flat piece of wood. The trick here is this one's been prepared. We have 2 layers of something called gesso, one painted with horizontal strokes and one with vertical strokes. It's just to give us sort of a light monochrome surface to draw and paint on, so you can use the color of acrylic paint if you like. Now, this is where all the hoopla of getting that grid on our fossil picture comes in. We're going to make a grid of the same size on our tile. So I'm just going to draw some little lines an inch apart across the top and then across the bottom of our tile. And I'm going to connect them so that the tile has stripes. I'm going to do the same thing on the other 2 sides and ta-da! A grid! Alright, now that we have our grid, let's just get started sketching. You might be wondering, what is the point of drawing a grid on this if we're just going to draw over it? Well, gridding is a technique that can be used to copy artwork that's far easier and way more accurate than simply freehanding it, especially if you're not that confident as an artist. This whole time I have a reference image just off screen on my computer, estimating where the lines of the fossil cross the lines of the grid and using it to figure out just about how big stuff is in comparison. It's just sort of drawing loosely approximately in the same places. To be honest, I'm actually looking at my reference more than I'm looking at what my hands are doing. If you find drawing something like this intimidating, you could also try going box by box and zooming in and just focusing on one small part. But just remember to zoom out occasionally and make sure everything looks good together. Most importantly, remember, this doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be good. We're just trying to get an idea of where we want our fossil to go so that we can sculpt and then paint on top of it. You can add or subtract or erase as many times as you want, just until you get your sketch to where you want it to be. A good foundation is really important for a good final project. And I'm just about done. I'm going to freehand in a few more Archimedes down at the bottom and fill out the composition just a little. And there, that's all for today. Join me again for part 2, sculpting.